Hi folks, it's Andy. Welcome to this week's Kendo Rant. Okay, so here we are for another week of fantastic questions. We're going to get to them in just a minute. Got some great ones to get to today. But before we jump to them, don't forget a couple of very, very important things. First, we have a duty to expand and grow the Kendo population. And we can do that by leveraging the YouTube robots, their algorithms, all those sort of mystical things that aren't so mystical. Here's how it works. I'm going to break it down for you. All right, I'm going to break it down for you. You guys have to like, share, subscribe, and then on subscribe, you have to click the little arrow that says note, and then a bell comes up. It says notifications. You have to click that. Right, that notifies this team of YouTube robot ninjas. Right, we've established this for the last few weeks now. Pretty sure that's how it works. Notifies the ninjas, the robot ninjas. All right. Now they're going to go and find people to start Kendo, all right? But they need to know that it's Kendo that they've got to start. So what you've got to do is you've got to write a comment saying, wow, what a great Kendo video. I've got to use the words Kendo. Something like, what a great Kendo video. It's the best Kendo channel. Something like that. And then they'll grow the Kendo population. We've already had 3.5 billion people start Kendo by doing that. And we're trying to double that by the end of the week. So, pretty sure that's gonna happen, but you do need to do your part, right? So make sure you like, share, subscribe, notifications, comment the word Kendo, all right? Okay. Now I know it sounds like a little bit sort of out there if that's really how it works. I was a bit skeptical at first, but we've tried and tested it. Pretty sure that is how it works. We asked YouTube about it. They didn't respond, so I took that as a yes. So yeah, we're pretty much confirmed as fact. So yeah, make sure you do that. But there is something that's even more important than that. What could be more important than that? You ask. Well, it's supporting the channel. You support the channel, whether it's you like these videos where I do question and answers from you, Kendo Rant, whether I do the feedback where you send in a video, I give you feedback for it. Last week I didn't do a Kendo Rant. Last week I gave you an instructional video. We did a video about how to understand the rules surrounding Super ZEI. All right, they changed a bit in recent years. If you don't know, or if you're curious about that and need to know more about it, it's something that lots of people get confused on, actually. And we're going to be referencing it a bit today in today's video as well. Because there's a couple of questions relating to it. If you like that sort of content, it all comes to you free. There's no like, rental charges by the minute or anything. We don't charge you for subtitles or for a colour picture or anything like that. All right. It all comes at you free. And all you've got to do, this is the best bit, all you've got to do is shop at KendoStar.com. Now, KendoStar is the best Kendo equipment website in the galaxy, universe, multiverse, miniverse, megaverse, everyverse, history and future of the human race, and every other species that's ever walked the earth or lived or existed in the galaxy or universe. It's the best ever, all right? Now, don't take my word for it. Of course, I would say that I own the place. But don't take my word for it. We're the highest rated on Trustpilot by far. We're on one of the highest rated e-commerce shops, not even like just Kendo shops. All right. You're going to shop with us anyway. Don't waste your time going to one of these like ones that are trying to imitate what we're doing. Yeah. Popping up a lot recently. I've seen, seeing what we do, because we make it look easy, they think it's easy. Yeah, they soon find out that it's not. Yeah, they often come and go. All right, it's not the first time I've seen these pop up and then suddenly disappear. Yeah, shop with the original and the best first time round. All right, don't buy twice. You're gonna buy with us anyway. All right, shop at KendoStar.com. You get the best products, you get the best service. Everyone's a winner, baby. That's the truth, as the ancient saying goes. Right, now, let's get into these questions. Okay, number one. Now this has got a bit of context to it, right? So this came to me by DM from someone who was at a practice I was at earlier this week. All right, so it comes off the back of something I was teaching in person. Okay, so it says, hi Sensei, today there were two concepts that you explained with Men Kaishido. Okay, so we're talking about Men Kaishido. Kiatari and Daiyu. I don't understand properly the last one. Okay, so it wasn't these words. It's hard to hear in that hall, I know, and especially when we've all got masks on, covering our mouths and ears. When I say masks, I mean men. And I did have a men's shielding actually. I am wearing one at the minute because I'm going to Japan soon, so I need to get used to it. And I think the dark ones look cool. You know, the like the tinted ones we have on Kendo Star. If you watch the All Japan Championships final, we're going to look at it today later actually. The lad that won it, Natsumeda, he has the black. It's like black tinted. I think it looks pretty cool. So I've been wearing that recently. Okay, so I mentioned it wasn't Kiatari, it was Aiki, and the second one was the I. Okay, so we were talking about Men Kaishido, all right, and how it's necessary to show that you understand the I and Aiki. When performing it, especially in a grading, all right? Because there's some people at the class that were sort of higher grades, the sort of 4th dan, 5th dan, some mid-level grades, looking to take 5th dan and 6th dan. So it's important that you don't just bash the Kaishido out of reflex. If you want to do the Kaishido, it has to show that you understand Aiki and Di. Okay, and to some extent, Seme-ai is a kind of connected Seme-ai is a connected concept as well. All right, it's similar to Aiki. All right, so Aiki is like when both of your ki, your spirit, is working in unison with your partner. All right, that's really important, and that can generate the Seme-ai. Okay, so your Seme and their Seme has the kind of connection, right? And it's not just random, and that results in Datotsu strikes that have the I being a rationale or a reason, all right? The why, it's the why of the strike, all right? It didn't just happen for no reason, okay? Where it came from and why it happened, okay? So I actually want to ask you maybe for Kendo RANT, that's why we're here. If you go for Godan or Rokudan and you have someone that is going on its own and not establishing the connection, what are you supposed to do? I understand today that if you manage to do the Kaishido, but there's no Kiatari, so let's change that to Aiki, because I think that's what we're meaning here. Aiki. Kiatari is a slightly different thing. Kiatari is when the spirits clash, like in kata number 7, when there's the ski and it's like bam, this way, like that. It's like Taiatari, but with the spirit. You would fail anyway. Okay, so but if it is the other who is not engaging, how are you supposed to deal with that during the grading for Godan and or Rokudan? Okay, so what I think I mentioned is that, like, it's not that you would fail anyway, but if like the other person's attacking randomly and your Oju Waza or any of your Waza is just like reflex or just random, even if it happens to hit the target, it won't help you pass the grading, right, necessarily. Rather than saying it won't, you will fail, I'm saying it's more, it won't help you in the mission to pass. All right. Now, it is a question that I get a lot. Is like, okay, so I'm going for Yondan, Godan, Rokudan, and I personally think it's the same for Nanadan. And I have to show that I, have a connection with the other person, and that there's Seme-ai and there's Di, and that the Waza I choose have the reason. But the other person's just not just attacking randomly, sort of thing, or just not letting me do it. I think that's the one I hear, that they're not letting me do it. Now, let's start. It's never the other person's fault if you fail the grading. All right, it's never the other person's fault. Yeah, there's people that are more difficult to do grading with than others. Yeah, but if you're unable to manage it, then you can't pass the grading. Now, it's difficult. Some people make that really difficult. And especially when you're sort of going for Yondan, for example, it's a stumbling block for a lot of people at Yondan, because they just, like, they don't know how to deal with it. But by the time you're going 5th dan, 6th dan, you should know how to deal with that, all right? So even if they're, like, attacking randomly, I'll probably try and make a video about this because it's quite a common question. But if they're just attacking randomly with no sort of feeling of semi, then you still have to be able to affect your semi on them. So what you have to do is not just let them hit in their own rhythm, but you have to control the tachiai so that they hit at the points that you make sure that they hit at, even if they're not aware of it, all right? So I think one of the big stumbling blocks in this is that when there's this concept that you're not allowed to defend in the grading, which isn't true, all right? It's not true. Now, you don't want to spend the grading like this, obviously, right? But if they attack you randomly and it's not the right opportunity and there's no real point for the orjuas or something like that, and they're just like throwing themselves in, there's nothing wrong with spoiling the waza. Or I wouldn't do the, like, if I could help it, I'd try not to do the thing where you keep the shinai on them. You could do that, or you could just, you know, deflect or defend their strike and then make sure that you like take the sen, which is take the initiative, before they can make the next one, and that's when you make your strike. So it's difficult. I'll try and make a video on it. But you have to try to get the pace into your pace. You have to take control. It's quite easy, actually, once you know how to do it, but it's quite difficult to explain. But it is a case of you have to get the, you know, if they're just like, man, like sort of just randomly throwing themselves in, then you have to break that. You have to break that pattern, and then you have to seize control of it, right? So I'll try and make a video about it, all right? Okay, next one. Now, some of these questions are from the video I put up last week. I didn't do a Kendo rant last week, all right? I was away at Shiai, and spoiler alert, I won't be here next week either, because I'm traveling to another Shiai. But this is a question from the video I put up about Tsubazeriai. Okay. Sensei, thank you for providing us with yet another informative and insightful Kendo video. My question this week is about the mindset I need to possess when doing keiko with senior disciples. I don't know if disciples is the best word for people that are like learning Kendo. I don't want my students to call me to call themselves my disciples, but anyway, I get it, and especially the head sensei of dojo. I always find myself holding back and not following through with my attacks 100% with 100% impact in the strike, and as a result, zanshin when fighting against said people during keiko out of fear of being seen as disrespectful or hitting too hard. When it is in fact the opposite case, it's actually disrespectful towards the other fighter and towards yourself to hold back against someone. Whenever I train with the other disciples at the same level as me in my club, I tend to use my usual routine where I would try my best to improve one technique at first, but then branch out later during the fight to practice new things, some of which I have learned from this channel. Oh, good. However, whenever I reach the sensei in our rotation, my brain turns off and my sole focus is to be as proper as possible and only do things that I know how to do properly, like only going for men and occasionally kote men, so as not to disappoint the sensei with half-baked or juazo poor form. As a result of this, I always feel like I've wasted the sensei's time and my kendo hasn't improved from being able to spar against them. Is there an effective way to rethink my approach to keiko against sensei and to a less extent senior disciples and break out of this mindset? So look, when you're fighting against the sensei, I think just hitting the men and maybe the kote men is fine. It's not, you know, it depends on the context. But I've talked about this before in that, you know, sensei's not there for you to practice orjuwaza on necessarily. It's there for you to sort of train yourself to attack with full vigor, full spirit. Try to make the best many pon that you can, even if you know that they're going to hit your debana, or maybe they all do the orjuwaza. All right, I'm not saying never ever do it. It depends on the relationship you have with the sensei as well. But you're right. You have to there's a line to be drawn. You know, you don't want to be holding back. You want to do the opposite when you're fighting them. But remember that the goal isn't to hit them as much as you can. Yeah, the goal is to overcome your fear of being hit in lots of ways. Okay, so you know that's how you'll improve from the sensei. It's the best thing the sensei can give you is that, and rather than trying to like compete with them. It's not necessarily what they're there for. So I think the best thing you can do is, you know, don't worry about wasting the time. Just make sure that when you with the sensei or senior dojo people, you know, try to do your best kamae, try to do your best voice, and then try to look for when, you know, the chance to hit men is, for example, and maybe even when the sensei is trying to get you to hit men, try to hit men then. Even if you know that it's because they want to do the kaishido or they're going to do debana or something like that. And then you might, you know, you'll start to recognize the points of when you're supposed to strike. And attack, even knowing that it might not be successful, and give everything to it still. It's the best way for you to improve. It really is, in my opinion. Anyway, but yeah, you don't want to be holding yourself back. You need to be really pushing yourself. Try and overcome. Hi, Sensei. I had a question regarding stepping forward during separation of Super Zeri. In the demonstration, they take one breath. They take the one breath time, and then it is handsoku to step forward rather than separation. Would this be the case if the opponent initiates an unreciprocated separation early? Can you pursue them, or is a valid point only scored if you are reversing while striking? Thank you. Okay, so it depends. So I think let's get to what we're talking about. So just a minute. Okay, so here's the video that I put out the other day about Super Zeri. So here's the example of what is handsoku, okay? In the context of what we're talking about. So coming to the Super Zeri here. So as she separates, I step forward and we're there for stepping forward, so more than one breath, which is about 3 seconds. And then she separates and I step forward this way. Okay. Step forward and don't even let her get. This is not allowed. Because when separate, and I think the more now obvious example is probably a bit eager in this video. Yeah, stepping forward. And the other situation, of course, is where the sort of after your 3 seconds have happened, and this is also one where I'm avoiding 3 like this when she starts to separate, so and I start to walk forward like this. Okay, so these are the two sort of obvious like points at a handsoku. So the question is though, is if 3 seconds haven't passed, what am I allowed to do and what am I not allowed to do? I'll just quickly as well, if we look at this is quite a recent famous example of this handsoku being given. So you can understand as well what I'm talking about. This is the final of the All Japans last year. You can see this is Natsumeda on the left with white and then Matsuzaki in red here. So they come to Tsubazeri here, and now let's start counting here. So we've already had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's already been 6, right? So we've got to separate now, definitely, because we're now properly stretched out that one breath. But as Natsumeda starts to go backwards, Matsuzaki starts to go forwards here, like that. You see that, yeah? So this is an example of what I just showed in the video, all right? Where this obviously gets awarded the handsoku. All right. Now the question though we're dealing with is, what if it hasn't been 3 seconds yet? All right. Well, it's really dependent on the context. All right. It's really dependent on the context. If it hasn't been 3 seconds, then then this is also one where if you know, it happens quite a lot actually, where especially if one person's trying to play down the time or something like that, or whatever, or maybe they're trying to get a point as quick as they can, but they can't get to, they're not very good at hikiwaza. So as soon as they get here, they'll run away as soon as they can. Avoiding separating. So if we imagine that this hadn't been 3 seconds. This is also one where maybe let's say it's just got to go now, it's like 1, avoiding separating. 2, then so I would probably be okay to do this, especially if I was right at the edge of the Shiai. But it's really grey and depends on the problem you're dealing with. Is it's all down to the judgment of the shimpan and what they agree or believe, not agree, sorry, what they judge to be within one breath and what's not. So if it looks like you're not trying to do Tsuba Zeri, like not trying to engage in Tsuba Zeri, you're not trying to separate from Tsuba Zeri, or you're just trying to hang around in Tsuba Zeri the whole time, and not not try to do waza, just trying to hang out there, then you're going to get the hansoku, I think, even if it hasn't been that time. And once it starts to look like a mutual separation should have happened, so like with the earlier one where she separated and then I moved forward, that separation's already happened there. You've got to separate, all right? It doesn't matter how long it's been, all right? So yeah, you have to be a bit careful. You can't say for definite, because at the end of the day, it's up to the shimpan to decide what's hansoku and not. All right. So my advice would be, rather than, if somebody's like eager to back off before they've been there for the one breath or about 3 seconds, hit them instead. Do hikiwaza instead, because you often find you have the chance to do that. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. There's no black and white answer to it, unfortunately. Okay, next one. Great informational video. The one part I struggle with is shifting your body weight onto the tsuba and not just press down with my arms. I can understand the concept, but the way to do it is beyond me. Also, I have some questions. Do you use the same tsuba zeri while doing the fourth kihon with the bokken? So, okay, so here's the thing. It's not necessarily about like putting your body weight onto the tsuba. All right, you can do that momentarily. Yeah, you can do that momentarily, but like your general tsuba zeri should be quite relaxed. You shouldn't be like, like super, and trying to push around and trying to put your body weight onto the tsuba too much. So you should relax nicely, okay? Again, in case you hadn't noticed, this question is from the Tsuba Zeri video from last week. And then in terms of the Tsuba Zeri, it's sort of similar to the one from the Kihon with the Bokken, but probably the Shinai is slightly more upright. With the Bokken, it's really 45 degrees, whereas with the Shinai, it can be a little bit more upright. You don't want to be straight up, but it can be a little bit more upright because you're trying to take the center really with this part of the Shinai. Okay, but you can sort of, it's not like set in stone either. All right. So yeah, that's that. Next one. Hello, Sensei. What criteria would you take into account for hante during a kid's shiai? So it really depends as well on the context of the overall shiai and the level of the Taikai or the kids in the shiai. The main things I'd probably look for is the good spirit, good correct, good fighting spirit. So even if like they're almost hitting the points but there's no voice or something like that, I probably wouldn't look at that so much. But obviously like almost ippon, like if they had points that were like almost ippon, I'd consider that too. I'd consider other auxiliary things like have they got, do they understand the right like reigi for the shiai? Do they understand like if they're wearing the stuff properly and what have you? Do they have some semblance of a kikentai no ichi, like the quality of their actual kendo as well? I'd look at all those things really, and then try to imagine as well a little bit. It's not, I wouldn't base a decision on it, but I'd sort of imagine in my mind if this shiai was to play out indefinitely, which do I feel is most likely to win? All these things are what I would consider whilst doing it. Okay, I don't have a massive experience of doing hante, to be fair. It's not super common. Okay, next. Sensei at my dojo recently took and passed his 7th Dan exam. No one knew he was taking it, but the dojo officials received notice after he passed, and we had a small celebration for him at practice this week. I've seen others receive gifts and receive gifts when passing a grading. The above mentioned sensei has been helping me practice and learn kendo for about 15 years. That being said, I don't know much about his dojo life. As you know, Japan is all about gift giving. My question is what is a good gift to get a sensei in one of these settings? He doesn't really drink alcohol, so an after cake or nomikai isn't really his thing. So why don't you get him like something like kendo related? Get him like a tsuba or like a, it depends how much you want to spend, but like if you get him a nice tsuba or like a sensei of mine actually here in the UK, when he passed his nanadan a couple of years ago, I gave him a couple of nice shinai, for example. or like some people like will get a kendogi or a hakama and even have some embroidery on it saying congratulations. There's lots of things like that I think is probably appropriate. You don't have to get him like a bottle of booze, you know. Something like that I think would be fine. To be honest, it's pretty common as a gift. Next one, Sensei, this past weekend I passed my exam for a grade I failed 3 times. Congratulations, that's fantastic. A few months back, you answered a question of mine about the times you felt frustrated with your Kendo journey, and it really helped me refocus on my training. Good. Thank you for what you do worldwide. No, thank you. Worldwide Kendo community, sorry. Everyone I know loves Kendo Star as much as I do. Good. Also, I watched my videos from last weekend's tournament matches and realised I need to get back to basics with my door strikes. Do you have any drills for improving door on your own between practice? What do you think is the best way to demonstrate your strong zanshin after door for a lower grade? Thank you again. Well, it depends what you mean by lower grade, but I don't think like the way you demonstrate zanshin is particularly connected to the grade that you're at. In terms of drills for improving door by yourself, suburi, you can do with suburi, okay? Do your normal sort of suburi stuff you might do at the dojo, do that at home. But also you can do door suburi, right? You can do door suburi, and you can do it using normal like zanshin footwork, just right, left, this way. But you can also do it like with diagonal footwork, like you would if you were striking door, yeah? Sort of this way, door, yeah, door. Like imagine you're striking the door, yeah. I think that would help quite a lot. In terms of the best way to demonstrate the zanshin is after hitting, go straight as fast as you can, turn around and come out towards your opponent. I think one thing people struggle with door a lot is they get their shinai sort of stuck against their opponent. So you have to, after striking, you have to relax your wrists. You can let go with your left hand briefly if you need to get the shinai past. That's okay. Just don't bash the door with one hand. All right. But I don't think the way you demonstrate zanshin needs to be connected to what grade you are. All right. Next one, a light question this week. Is there any good way to mark a men after purchase when name embroidery is no longer an option? Yeah, so if you wanted to like make your men stand out as yours without having sort of name embroidery on it directly, a good way to do it, I think, is with like customized or like different chichikawa. If you use the different chichikawa, different colored ones that are unique to you a bit. We've got a big selection of them on KendoStar, but you can get like different colored ones, different patterns, stuff like that, and it's easy to recognize your men. Hey Sensei, hope all is well. Our dojo just competed in our first team tournament in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Great, and it was a wonderful experience. It got me thinking though, we had limited experience so far in our Kendo journey, but I figured you've probably been to a tournament or two. Yeah, 1 or 2. In your opinion, what are some things that make a great Taikai versus a bad or just a mediocre one? Thanks. So what makes a good Shiai, a good Taikai, versus one that's like mediocre, shall we say, is good organization. I think one thing you need is like a good venue with good facilities and well organized like staff that run the Shiai. So like running making sure everything runs smoothly, everything's set up properly, making sure that like the scoreboards are correctly, labeled, and making sure that like the timekeepers and everybody know what they're doing. And then of course, the super important one is making sure that you get the shimpan. It's really difficult to get shimpan because most of us live in countries where there isn't a massive abundance of people that are sort of suitable to do shimpan. But like the best shiai are the ones that have the good level of shimpan that you can you don't feel like, have to work against the shimpan. The shiai that I've been to in the past, the Taikai that I've been to in the past, where I've been like, okay, I don't think I'll bother going there again or something like that, have usually been the ones where I felt there's been issues surrounding the shimpan. So whether that's making sure that you've got enough high level, good quality shimpan coming, or what have you, by offering, making sure that it's easy for them to get to in a good location, doesn't clash with other events, maybe even offering help for them to get there, at least in terms of paying expenses, providing them with lunch and stuff, maybe even, if it was by Japanese standards, of course there'd be other incentives as well. You know, there's a kind of thank you payment sort of thing, but you know, we don't usually operate at the scale where that's possible. So yeah, they're the things that sort of separate the better Taikai to the ones that are not as good. Good venue with parking. You know, I know, like in the US, I've never been to Tulsa, Oklahoma, but I know that from my experience of being in the US or going to the US a couple of times, parking isn't. It's a bit like Japan in that parking isn't a massive issue in the way it is in other areas of the world. You know, like for example, if a tournament's held in London, for example, parking can be an issue. So, because a lot of venues don't have their own parking or something like that. So, so that's that really. Well done though. Okay, last one. What's the expected lifetime of deerskin cotte palms before they need repalming with normal twice a week training? Well, obviously it depends, because it depends on the climate that you're in and how you look after the cotte. If you're only using them twice a week, and it is like, if you're talking twice a week, like Monday and Friday, that's different to like Monday and Tuesday. Right, first of all, because they need to be fully dry before you use them again. I would recommend, even if you're only practicing twice a week, if you're like regularly practicing for twice a week for 2 hours at each session or more, I'd still recommend having more than one pair of cotte. I wouldn't rely on just one pair of cotte. And then you can swap them out, and then you'll definitely get longer out of them. But if you make sure that they dry fully, and in between practices, and they don't, you know, you're not using them whilst they're wet, you make sure you take them out of the bag and all that sort of thing, and you care for them properly, and provided there's no issue with the way you're sort of gripping the Shiai, then, you know, I think I've had them last a few years, you know, 2 or 3 years, maybe more, depends. I don't know. It's been a long time since I like sort of practiced twice a week. I tend to practice. I mean, at the moment, I practice sort of 2 to 3 times a week. So, but I rotate between sort of 2 or 3 or 4 sets of cotte even. So, so mine last me a long time. But the more you can rotate them, the longer they will last you. To be fair, so yeah. There's a lot of variables in that question, a lot, yeah. But I think 2 or 3 years is no problem, and potentially longer, but it depends. You know, to the point where it needs repalming. I'm not talking about little tiny holes. You'll get a hole in your thumb. You'll get a hole in the thumbs, like a little tiny hole in the thumbs, probably within the first couple of months. And that's normal, that's fine. And it probably won't get much bigger. But like to the point where it has to be repalmed, yeah, I think you'll get a good couple of years or more out of them. No problem at all. So there we go. We've reached the end of the questions. It's been a long video, reasonably long video today. Thank you for joining me all the way to the end. I hope you have a great weekend of Kendo planned ahead of you. Don't forget to shop at KendoStar, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.